Last week, Dalai Lama charted out an elaborate plan as far as his succession is concerned. Now, China's ambassador to India has said that China's position that Dalai Lama's incarnation is concerned. He has given a statement on that, claiming that that is an internal affair of China. It's a statement that is coming from the ambassador of China to India. In fact, he dismissed recent comments by Dalai Lama as far as the next reincarnation is concerned. Remember, Dalai Lama had mentioned that it could be a boy, it could be a girl, and that would be decided by the trust founded by him and not by China whatsoever. But China has sharply reacted to this, saying that this is their internal matter. In fact, that is a statement that has come in from China, that this remains their internal matter, and there should be no interference as far as selecting the next Dalai Lama is concerned. Let me go across to our guest, Acharya Yeshi Phuntsok, who's the former Deputy Speaker for the Tibetan Parliament in exile, and also Tenzin Lekshe, who's the official spokesperson of the Central Tibetan Administration. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for speaking to Republic TV. I want to come across to, Mr. Acharya, first to you. How do you look at the statement that is coming from China, that this is their internal matter and the next incarnation will be decided by China? Your first reaction to that? Am I audible to you, Mr. Acharya?
I'm hearing from your voice, but China is showing some other things. Hello?
All right, we'll try and reconnect that line with Mr. Acharya. Let me go across to Tenzin Lekshe. Sir, how do you see this statement that is coming from China, that it is their internal matter? On the other hand, Dalai Lama has charted out an elaborate plan as far as the succession is concerned. Your first reaction to this?
See, China has nothing to do with the reincarnation of His Holiness Dalai Lama. In fact, it is the internal matter of His Holiness himself, not the Chinese. Right. So therefore, I think the China needs to shun the business of this reincarnation issue, which they've been trolling around. One thing it is very important for us to know is that we are talking about His Holiness Dalai Lama's reincarnation, and His Holiness is the sole legitimate, right, authority on the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama, nobody else. And therefore, His Holiness in the 2nd July statement has categorically mentioned that he will entrust Gandhi trusts the office of His Holiness Dalai Lama to take the responsibility, right? So that doesn't include China. So China do not have any role to play in this business, in this role, because this is the religious tradition unique to the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. And for China, they are not within the Buddhist traditions. The Chinese regime, they don't believe in religion. Chinese regime, they are the offender of the destroyer of the religion and faith. Then how come they be the one to be the protector and the savior of the faith? There's nowhere that China have a business and the authority on the reincarnation issue. It's purely a spiritual matter. It's purely a Buddhist tradition which China do not belong.
Absolutely. And after this announcement was made, in fact, there was a celebration by the Tibetan leaders and those activists and people there in Dharamshala as well. We saw celebrations yesterday on the 90th birthday of Dalai Lama as well. Let me now go across to Acharya Yeshi Phuntsok, who's been the former Deputy Speaker for the Tibetan Parliament in exile. Thank you so much for speaking to Republic TV. Your first reaction to the statement that has come in from China, that this is their internal matter. India should not intervene as far as the next incarnation is concerned. How would you react to this? All right, we'll reconnect that line with, in fact, Mr. Acharya. Let me go back to Tenzin Lekshe, sir. As far as India's intervention is also concerned, because this is also an attack on India as well, that India should also have no say, and it's Chinese internal matters what they have claimed. How do you see India's assistance when it comes to this entire matter as far as the incarnation is concerned?
See, India has made a very clear position by saying that this is the religious tradition, right? As per the religious tradition, because it is the matter of His Holiness. So I think India has made the right decision by saying that it is up to His Holiness that His Holiness can decide upon where he should be, right? So therefore, I think China over the last so many years, they've been saying that this Buddhist tradition is the Chinese characteristics. They said that this Buddhist tradition of this reincarnation should be from their side, should be controlled by them. It is nowhere in the history that China has a control. China has an authority on the reincarnation. Right? So therefore, let me reiterate again, China has no business and no authority on the reincarnation of His Holiness Dalai Lama. Right? They can bark all the time, but this is not the thing that China should interfere. It's not right traditionally. Historically, also, they don't have any record where they can say that they have the legitimate authority on the reincarnation of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Nowhere they don't have the authority, right? So therefore, I think it is important for China to rethink and change their position by saying that the aspirations of Tibetan people should be deserved, should be fulfilled. That's what I think His Holiness has said many times.
Quite clear when Dalai Lama charted out the succession plan. He had categorically mentioned that it is, in fact, the decision by the trust that he had founded in 2015, and China will have no say whatsoever. But in the last 3 or 4 days, we've been seeing back-to-back statements that have been coming from China as far as the succession plan is concerned. But as far as, in fact, how would you see, because since the last 3 days, these reactions have been coming in from China. It appears that China is very desperate when it comes to reincarnation and its selection. Mr. Tenzin.
See, China always acts out of desperations. Whenever it comes to the matter of Tibetan people and His Holiness, right, they were always wrong. They were always wrong. Right? They claimed that Tibet was part of China since time immemorial. They were wrong. They claimed that Tibetan Buddhists are of Chinese characteristics. They were wrong. They claimed that His Holiness reincarnation should be born in Tibet, should be used through the golden urns, should be legitimized and authorized by the Chinese government. Nowhere, right? His Holiness will be born in Tibet. As His Holiness said many times, that if the Tibetan situation remains unchanged, he'll be born in a free world. Many times. Then right now at this present juncture, Tibet is more than ever critical. So how can His Holiness be born in Tibet? But second thing,
absolutely.
Was a
this
creation
is what
China.
Dalai Lama had also stated. So stay on with us. In fact, we are joined by Acharya Yeshi Phuntsok, who's been the former Deputy Speaker for the Tibetan Parliament in exile. So thank you so much for speaking to Republic TV. I wanted to ask you your first reaction to the statements, back-to-back statements that are coming in from China as far as the reincarnation is concerned. They're saying it's their internal matter.
China have no any powers and rights regarding the Tibetan Buddhist, the traditional, and particularly the reincarnation of the His Holiness Dalai Lama, and then the others or various lamas in Kulkut. That is only the authorities and powers of the Tibetan Buddhist. It's the own tradition and authorities without any interference. China has no right, no power. So therefore, they always comes their reaction, but we never met any importance of the Chinese government. Authoritarians, the unknown about any Buddhist single word about the Buddhism, what they can to do something about the reincarnations of the His Holiness Dalai Lama and the other Tibetan traditions and culture. That is the I have mentioned several times in this various platforms.
Absolutely. China can say all it wants that it's their internal matter, but the fact remains that it will be chosen by the trust that has been founded by Dalai Lama. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for speaking to Republic TV.